Hey, I'm Alfio, and this is Brave Tales, where we dive into mental health, gut health, and the brave journey to healing through real stories and honest conversations. Today's guest is David Montgomery, a former tradie turned mental health advocate and founder of WatchWell, a program changing how the construction industry tackles stress, behavior, and well-being on site. With 30 years on the tools and in leadership, David knows the pressure and the silence that surrounds mental health in high-risk environments. In this episode, we unpack the emotional toll of the job and why communication is as important as safety gear and how one conversation can shift a whole culture. Let's dive in.
Hey, Alfio. How you going?
I'm good. How you doing?
Excellent, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's an absolute pleasure. And we're finally here. It took us a while. I know you're a very busy man, so we really appreciate that you've taken the time to have this chat. Let's dive straight into this, right? So what is WatchWell and how does it impact industries day by day?
I guess I've been in the industry for about 30 years, from the very bottom, sweeping floors, all the way up now to owning my own business and working projects for tier one construction companies. So I've gone the whole spectrum from the top to the bottom. And what I'm starting to realize, probably in the last 5-6 years through COVID, was physical health on site is not necessarily the biggest problem. The biggest problem was behavior, or the impact from external influences, I guess, be it home, be it work, be it boss, be it task, be it money. You know, I start to think that emotional pressure and emotional strain has a way bigger impact on behavior. And that means actions of what you do and how you do it is determined by the effort or how you put in. So what I found is if you're not engaged and you're not really there, switched on, then your work suffers. And if you're a member of staff, then ultimately that's going to hurt a business owners. The ripple effect that I guess we'll go into a bit later on probably, but it's really, really that knock-on effect impacts the whole site. So one person has the potential to trip over the whole site. And these things going down for 1-2 days can be very expensive for any of these tier one, these construction sites in the city. You shut them down for the day, could be $100,000, $200,000. So really, you've got to start thinking about how do we communicate to the guys on site? That's where we do the work. How do we get cut through to them? And that was where we started WatchWell. How do we watch what we're doing, keep an eye on each other, and then really start looking at how we educate and help us bridge that gap to the next layer, whether it be another trade, another language, another the next job, a different type of boss, a different type of supervisor, unions. I mean, it's quite scary, the sort of people that get involved in a construction site. So you have to be able to be pretty open to what language you use and how you talk.
Yeah, language is underestimated in terms of its impact. You know, like could you just dive a little bit deeper in regards to how important language is in regards to mental health, wellness, and awareness?
Well, it's the only way. It's the only tool we have to display it. So if we don't know how to use our tool, then how are we going to explain to people or let people know if we're in trouble or if we don't feel so great? How do you identify if someone else is in trouble? If you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to get the cues. So how important is it? It drives everything. Your behavior drives everything. And that's where good, bad behavior is what we need to either weed out or drag in. So it's really, it's a hard situation.
What does it look like when it comes to good, constructive language to help navigate through mental health, concerns. Actually, I've just thought it is emotional intelligence, isn't it? Right? They come hand in hand, right? So maybe let's talk about that now, in emotional intelligence and how that's the forgotten attribute or aspect when it comes to understanding wellness in the workplace, in particular construction.
Okay. It's a great question, and emotional intelligence is something I didn't really understand. I knew IQ, I didn't know EQ. So now that I understand the importance of emotional intelligence, it drives IQ, it drives behavior, it drives that ripple effect, it drives your success. So what you want in here, if you can picture it clearly enough and you have the skills and communication tools, you've got the best chance to achieve what you want to do. If you can't talk, if you can't explain what you mean, that's a problem for you. How are you going to be able to get that next step if you go into a hospital and you can't explain what's wrong with you? If you go into a shop and you can't remember what you need to, you're not going to walk out with what you want. I always walk into the supermarket to buy some milk and I walk out with $200 worth of food, not the milk. I get distracted. That's probably one of my, I'm on some spectrum somewhere. So I get easily distracted and that's one of the problems I have. I've got to stay focused. So
I think it's fair to say that most of us do, right? There's so much going on in all our lives, right? With like the digital landscape, and we've got more responsibilities today. So I think it's fair to say that we're all bombarded by so much. So it's very easy to kind of get sidetracked and not stay focused on, I guess, what need, at the task at hand. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, there's loads of distractions. I think that's the easiest way to put them is what distractions are you, is impacting you, and on a building site, the distractions could, if you don't get them, they could endanger you. They could make places unsafe if you're not switched on, if you're not paying attention, and you could hurt someone else. You just don't know. So being able to be switched on, the train of thought, it's all about decision making. This is what we're talking about. And I think in construction, emotional intelligence, the easiest way for me to describe it, because it is a high pressure environment, I see emotional intelligence as a way of managing conflict. It's the easiest way for me to put it was, how do we manage a disagreement, or where we disagree? I think something different than you. I want to do it on Tuesday. You want to do it tomorrow. How do we fix that? That requires a level of emotional intelligence. On both is better, but at least if one person has it, the probability the conversation is going to go and get to the place where it needs to go. So really what we're doing, one step at a time. If I can switch my brain on and be a little bit calm, the probability is when we have a conversation, I may be able to help you for the next time. Oh, yeah, that worked. That made me calm down. All right, I'll employ the same sort. It's a sentence. It might be a word. It might be a nod. It might be how you look at someone, body language, tone. This is all part of emotional intelligence.
And often as, WatchWell addresses that issue, that mental health concerns or circumstances when, there is a problem, that's when it's addressed. Is that right? Like usually when there's a problem, that's when it's kind of looked at and addressed, and they look at as opposed to being proactive about it.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was from your notes, or we had a brief chat off site, and you said something along the lines of PPE for wellness. The physical stuff, we can prepare for it. It's default. Everyone knows, right? You get PPE, you put PPE on, you put masks on for silica, for example,
yep.
To make sure that you're safe. But when it comes to mental health prevention, it's often forgotten because you can't see it. So how can you maybe just unpack that concept of PPE for wellness, and then specifically how I guess, what WatchWell does in that aspect.
Okay. I'm a mental health first aid instructor. I learned that. I wanted to learn that. So I did mental health first aid. I thought this is really good. So I became the instructor. And then on the back of that, I realized, okay, it's great to know my mental health. And it was really handy to go home and I could go into the office and I could start to see, oh, wow, I think I can pick things up. Who's a little bit anxious? Who's a little bit depressed? Who is an addict? Who goes out and smokes? It's bloody obvious. Mental health is that very base level. And we talk about self-awareness. And I think that's one of the AI, the EI model that we look at is got 6 competencies. And the first one is self-awareness. So for me, mental health was the first thing I would need to do. And that would make me more self-aware of myself and more aware of how other people might be feeling at the time. And at that point, learning mental health first aid is like normal first aid. If I see someone in a bit of a moment, I can sit with them. I can essentially comfort them, get them to a level where they might want to open up and talk about it. But ideally, it's at that point of crisis, it's like a first aider. You're really passing them to the professionals. Hopefully, you never get that far, and your first aid training can ease you through it, and the situation calms down, and everyone can move on. They can go and seek their own help. So that layer of mental health awareness, I thought was critical, and I think everyone should have it. The next level is then when we start bringing awareness of others. So again, a bit more mental health, starting to appreciate that everyone has it. Everyone can have a challenging day. Everyone can be impacted by stress. What's the next level? Then authenticity. So now we're talking about communication. Now we're talking about how we listen, what we hear. And if I can hear exactly the words you're saying with the intent you're delivering, then I have a potential to be emotionally in control of our conversation. And at the end of the day, I know what you want. I know what you need because we've communicated and we've established that you understand that I'm on board, I'm a support. And that at that point, I provide you with that empowerment to do it yourself. It's okay. We can overcome this challenge. You're not doing it by yourself. We're at work. We're a team. We're doing this together. And that's where I think emotional intelligence and mental health together is really comes back down to the well-being. You want to go to work. You need to go to work. You want to at least enjoy most days. Or you want to go there feeling safe that your mate or your work colleague has got your back. And that's where emotional intelligence and mental health, I believe, join together. And I haven't seen anything that does that yet. But the most important element was, how do I bridge that to the subcontractors that don't have to have, I don't need to supply mental health support to my subcontractors. That's on them. So I wanted to design a program that supported them at no real cost to the principal. It was part of the service. The output is a more productive and better, more efficient site where people feel like they're actually a part of a team. They've achieved something at the end of it. And you walk away going, you know what? I look forward to seeing you on the next one. As a business, I want longevity. I need a sustainable model, which means I need to get the next job. The only way I get the next job is being by good at the one I did before. And it's a competitive market. So if I'm no good, I don't work. And that's 40 staff that are impacted by that happening. So I have 40 people to try and manage. That's in my other business. That's not WatchWell. But it's a big challenge. So unpacking it, I didn't know what I was unpacking 4 years ago. I really didn't. And I guess I've built a program that talks to me. I realized that I'm in a foreign country. Yeah, I speak the lingo, but I'm away from family. I've been away for a quarter of a century from home. I left trauma. So I understand people coming here in a lonely world and what you need and what helps you. A smile on your face helps the day go a little bit better, So I always find it important that when I meet someone, you try and get a smile out of it. And if that means I have to start with a smile, it's easy, it's free, it's simple, and it doesn't matter what language, who you are, how old, it's the same.
Yeah.
A smile's a smile. A smile is a greeting.
It's universal.
It's universal.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what country you live in.
No. And you just reminded me that that idea that you mentioned before about small acts.
Like the ripple.
The ripple effect, a small act, causes that ripple effect and can do immense or create an immense impact, positive impact. Can you share with us maybe one or two, or even just one example? I think you mentioned something about there was a foreman and there was a small act, and that small act created this amazing impact, this ripple effect. Could you just maybe share that scenario?
Look, it's simple stuff. I mean, there was an apprentice on site. It's one of the bigger sites. They're a pretty imposing place to be. You've got 300-400 people, steel workers, scaffolders, form workers or painters, and you've got everything going on all at the same time. So as a 17, 18-year-old apprentice, it must be pretty full on. Make mistakes, things happen. And one guy did make a mistake. I can't exactly remember what it was. It might have been something really small. But there's two ways of dealing with it. One is reprimand the kid, swear, carry on, make a big deal out of it. Or, right, it's really dangerous. Someone could have tripped over it. If we provide some sort of level of explanation as to why we don't do that, then I feel that education begins there. When there's a situation, education starts. It's not a telling off until you repeat it. First time my kids make a mistake, I said, come on. Do we really need to do that? Sorry, Dad. They do it again and again, then the conversation's different. But the first conversation is a supportive and is an encouraging. Then they say it's going to be all right. We all make mistakes. Don't worry. So that's I don't want to be the full-on, the leader who comes and pushes people down. I want to go into a place and feel like I'm one of the lads, one of the team. And nowadays, more and more, you're seeing more and more females on site. So behavior is starting to change. It organically changes. And now you're starting to see how everyone fits in together. And so the ripple effect from a positive thing, I think is 95% of the industry. I think we all try and do the best. We don't go down to upset anyone or hurt anyone or cause a problem. That's not what anyone goes to work to do. However, it's the 1 in 5 that may be having a bit of stress. So the ripple, I think in this situation, one problem, the ripple is huge. When you just be nice to someone, it's just expected. But nowadays, people are more going to that aggressive, come on, I haven't got time, fix this, or I don't have time to explain, just do it this way, shut up, get out of my face.
Yeah.
And it's a time thing. So when good things happen, no one says anything. People remember the bad as opposed to the good. And that's what I think the industry is really focusing more on, what people are doing wrong than what people are doing right. And that's, I guess, that optics of what I think people see inside the business. They're seeing almost a dysfunctional industry, and industry's been like this for many, 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 many years. So it's just accepted behavior on a site. It's just the way it's always been. Can we change? Yeah. Can we change that ripple to be a more positive and more encouraging and supportive environment? Of course.
Yeah.
But you can't expect people to do it by themselves. You can't expect them to learn that. I've studied it for now 4 years, and I still don't feel like I've barely scratched the surface. I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a doctor, a counselor, so I'm a layman. I'm not the most articulate of people, but when I go on site, I'm just the same as everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. I like to fit in. I like to be part of the team, and I like to put my best foot forward. And if that's appreciated by others, then I'll be doing it again. So I think this is more about the negative ripple. I think at WatchWell is more being a proactive program to prevent that negative ripple. We will not eradicate it, but what we can do is build ourselves a bit more resilience. So if we are faced with it or confronted with someone who is having that challenging day for whatever reason, that we're able to go, you know what? I get it. Why don't we just sort this out tomorrow?
Yeah.
You go and have a good day. I'm sorry you feel like that, but I'll catch up tomorrow. And being able to diffuse a situation, an argument, a conflict is a skill we should all have. And that's where this program doesn't just educate the CEO or the site manager. It actually is there to help the laborer on site that turns up for the day to sweep the floor, ready for handover. That he'll go through, have options, availability or access to the same tools, mental health, awareness, AI modules, that a few minutes gives an explanation of what's going on. And the best thing is, and what we're working on at the moment is a language model. So communication is not a problem. It should be in your language, written, hearing, audio and written should be in your language. I don't see why it can't be.
Yeah, because often that's not really part of the, if you like, curriculum, or the learning when you enter the construction industry. It's more so like technical, and there are processes that need to be adhered to, and etc. But when it comes to, again, looking at emotional intelligence and how we use language, it's often overlooked. I don't know if you want to call it topic or area or study, but not study, but it's just often that concept is overlooked. It's like, well, there's no importance. It's just subconsciously, there's no emphasis. But obviously what we're doing here, what we're talking about is flipping the script and being proactive about it. So then, just like when it comes to IQ, right? When we're more equipped in terms of knowledge, we know how to troubleshoot something. Well, we'll be able to troubleshoot a mental health issue, and communicate with people. And you actually touched on the importance of good leadership, right? Because I'm sure everyone will agree. I'm sure you'll agree. Good leadership gets the best out of people. Is not that barking kind of boss, and telling people what to do. Well, you obviously need to instruct, your workers and give them guidance and all that. But don't you think a good leader will get the best out of someone and not have to be that overarching, if you like, kind of dictator type figure, right? They can be, they should be respected, but not feared.
Oh, the CEOs and those guys need to have the same level of emotional intelligence than anyone else. If not, they should have more, or an appreciation of how valuable it is to their business. It would be crazy for them not to consider every possible aspect that can improve their business. And it's quite obvious that people is, especially in the construction industry, is what your business is. So if you're not going to go out there and look after your people and manage that, then there's something wrong. And it's been, emotional intelligence been around as a study for 30 years, maybe a wee bit more. So it's not a new thing, but it's certainly one to create a lot of debate, because let's be honest, my emotional intelligence is different than yours. What's important to me won't be the same to you. How I demonstrate particular emotional intelligence or comments will be different to you. So I know that every single person has slightly different and unique attributes. So how do you build a program that's unique to everyone? And that was probably the challenge. And that's why it's taken us 4 years to get it going, is because it couldn't just talk to one audience. It had to talk to everyone. Otherwise, it does not work. That it has to bridge all divides. It has to go between age. It has to go between gender. It has to be religion and culture. It has to bridge all of them. Because when we go into work, we're all on the same team. I I don't mind who I work with, as long as it's someone who's working safe, working together to achieve the same thing. I don't mind where they're from. And if I don't speak the language, that's okay, as long as I have some known channel of communication. And that's all I really need. Just someone with some consideration and, shall we say, empathy, sensitivity. They're all probably words that the construction industry doesn't hear, but I actually think there's a lot of empathy on site. I think there's a lot of sensitivity on site. I think it is hard to see it if you're not in it.
There's a lot of stress, like if anything, it's probably one of the industries where it needs empathy and needs emotional intelligence because of the high pressure environment, like it's full on.
I actually think, and I've had this conversation with many people, I really see the industry as highly emotionally intelligent, more so than most, because emotional intelligence is about communication, and it's about talking to different people and getting somewhere with communication, and if there's any conflict, then you've managed it. No industry is more conflict orientated than construction.
Yeah.
So all of these people on those sites, I think, have a huge level of emotional intelligence. They just don't know the studies of emotional intelligence. So you call them macho stigma. I'd be saying these guys are the most emotionally intelligent people in the industry, because they're on tier 1 sites, huge pressure, big jobs, big tasks. So why? They're doing a great job. It's just the outside looking in that wants to fix a problem. And don't get me wrong, there's issues in sight, and there are. I think this all stems from, the issues on a building site. 1 in 5 people, I mean, they all come back to this. 1 in 5 are going through some sort of mental health, moment. In 1 in 5 have done it in the last, or either now or in the last 12 months. So if that's 20% of your work site, and you 500 people on your work site, that's 100 people potentially are not feeling right that day.
It's huge.
To what level they're not feeling right, no one knows until a crisis happens. And that again, that's where we got to pull it back. And we got to say, crises happen. We don't have a suicide every 2 days because there's no crisis. There's a crisis. People are struggling out there. Not only that, we've got probably the same number of people fatally injured on work sites. This is how our common ground has come through. That's why Christopher, it is horrific things like that happening that make you realize, surely there's something we can do. And I really do believe there is something we can do. We can't save everyone, but one stone at a time, you can build a wall. Yeah. You can get yourself, build that bridge, and you can start making a difference. But if people think this is a quick fix, then the industry is in a much more of a bigger problem than just the people and how they feel. Because like we said before we turned the camera on, it's the top. The top are feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
And if they feel the pressure, everyone else feels it. If that top layer can soak up and absorb in an emotionally intelligent way their challenges and their conflict and what they have to deal with, which, let me tell you, as a business owner, and you would know yourself, it's tough.
Very tough.
When you've got to do everything. So a smaller business doing everything, it's hard.
Yeah.
But the CEO in a tier 1 construction company, that must be a pretty lonely place. Heaps of pressure. And I take my hat off to those people to do that. I work goddamn hard to be in that spot. So I don't want to go out there and point the finger at them saying they're wrong. We just have to look at, do we agree that things would be better if we adjusted things a little bit? And if we are to agree, we have a start point.
Yeah.
If no one can agree, which is what I think we have a little bit at the moment, is everyone's trying really hard to put something out there. There's lots of talks and people are discussing it, which is awesome, but who's going to jump in and actually make a difference? And I'm not saying that I can solve the world's problems, but I can certainly feel like I can contribute to helping that communication. And if I can communicate to this channel or this channel, then you know what? Someone hopefully grab the reins and I'll do over here. Good job. I'll take it and we'll do it over on this side as well. Because it doesn't have to be construction. It's fly in, fly out. It's, there's lots of industries.
Any industry, any workplace. You're talking about the starting point being awareness before, right? So how can leaders be more aware? Like, is there something they can do to better prepare themselves and be more aware? Because it's true. Like having that awareness, right, is the first step.
Okay. So as a business owner, started a business to create wealth, personal wealth. In most instances, you're not going to get into a business to lose money. So most of them did it to make money. So I'm of the opinion that if this is positioned correctly to a CEO, you've got lots of different types of CEOs. So depending on what CEO you have, if you position it correctly, I don't think anyone would dismiss it if you could show them what the ROI is and that return on investment of engaging with your employees and your staff and your subcontractors will result or return you a huge positive gain back into your project or your business or your team. So trying to make it, you could go anywhere on this conversation. You could go so many different.
So I guess what I'm getting here is that it depends what will resonate to that business owner.
Money. Time and money.
Yeah. But obviously, but then you can be a little bit more specific in terms of like what impacts them in terms of their goals and their objectives and their dreams, right? And then use that as a benchmark to help them become more aware.
So how do we get the CEO to be aware? I think that is an opt-in. All of these are opt-ins. So it's all going to be determined by the conversation someone like myself has with them to make them see the opportunities. You invest, I think some of the returns or whatever you spend in mental health or emotional intelligence, the returns are 5-10 times what you put in. It's just numbers to me. It's statistics, numbers, averages. I sincerely believe from what I've seen, the more emotionally intelligent leaders run a more effective company, like you said, and the respect that comes back. So I think it's almost like you have to see it to believe it. Nowadays, no one believes it until they've done it, until they've seen it, till they've touched it. So how does a CEO see it or touch it? You've got to see it through the industry. You've actually got to share with other people your challenges, what you'd like to do better. You've got to start to be a bit vulnerable. You've got to start to be a little bit more open to say, there could be different ways of doing this. But I'm in the zone at the moment where I'm learning lots of different languages based on the industry, the type of leaders. Some companies are privately owned, publicly owned, overseas owned. So what I'm starting to figure out is the politics. So what drives one company's vision is very different than someone else's. So I have to sort of be prepared to navigate that place where people might not believe that this is what it is. So I need to convince them to give it a go.
Yeah.
There's a 6 to 12 month program. It is going to cost you pennies per person. You just got to give it a go. The assessments are world class.
Yeah.
The dashboard gives you actually your staff feeling, not just your project position. And given that most projects I know are going backwards, if we can pull the people forward, I think that will flip how projects are delivered at the moment. So the CEO, I think, has to see a financial return, has to see a time return. And that is the challenge on how we do it, because at the moment it's statistics. And there's big companies, big business do this. Everyone told me at the beginning, you're never going to get emotional intelligence, mental health in the construction industry.
Yeah.
But I don't need to. It's already there. Just need to learn the language.
Yeah.
And when the language on a building site is the same as mine, simple, direct, and sometimes I don't say the right word and I have to sort of rewind it and rephrase it. That makes me, everyone goes, I get it. I've already tried 3 different ways. Now you get it. So I'm learning my own languages as I go. And hopefully the better I get at that, the quicker I can be at solving problems or empowering someone else to say, you got this. You got it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, come see me. It's okay.
Yeah. Because no one size fits. It's no one size fits all. You can't. It's impossible. Because you mentioned that there's so many different, levels of politics and languages and belief systems and ways of thinking.
Look at the news just now. The spectrum of where people sit, it's so wide. And but to be honest, if you go on a building site, you don't put a badge on your arm with your flag. It's your company. Go in with your company on your shirt. And every time you walk on a tier 1 construction site, you're now an employee of the principal. You're a PCBU, which is you are a person conducting business undertaken for the principal contractor. So that PC has a job to look after all the people on their sites. And I think that's where a CEO will really start to see the benefits. And the CEO needs to come and experience it, to see what it's like, to be part of the joke, to be part of the crack, to be part of the banter, which is why most boys, and I talk in schools, they all want to be in construction. Why? Because of the crack. I work with my mates, I'm building things, and I'm outside. It's great fun. It is. Until you have to deal with this problem, and work on a tier 1 construction site. Now it's not so fun all the time.
Yep.
So now it's about how do we get the kids who are coming through. So we're talking about, we could almost get into strategy, but you've got new ones coming through that are vulnerable, and you've got old ones pulling out. They've got the experience, but they're not patient. These guys are not patient. So they think they know everything. They know everything. Where's the middle ground? How do you do it? Training.
Yeah.
Together. As you go. So this program is there that you can interact with it yourself, with others, but ultimately it's a learn as you go. And the more you put in, the more effort you try and communicate with, the better the results are for yourself. And I think everyone talking about AI nowadays, EI is always going to be AI. If you don't have any EI, then I don't believe you can get on top of AI. But I think if you're emotionally intelligent and you can see opportunity and you can see distress or then I think AI becomes a tool that is a solution to a lot of problems. It just removes the annoying part out of it in my world. I'm not an admin fan. So if there's someone there to do my admin, awesome. And if it's a computer that doesn't talk back, even better. Because I'm disorganized and I'm going to be a pain for this thing.
Yeah.
So I'm allowed to be a pain. And it's there. It's a tool that's going to learn and teach me as much as I'm going to teach it. I don't know anything too much about AI, but what I do understand is it's a pretty powerful tool if I can get it right. That's the thing. So that's what we're working on at the moment, is really trying to pull a bit of tech into this to make it move. And if I can pull tech in, we're not just 100 people, 1,000 people, the potential to hit as many as possible, unlimited amount through AI. And I think that's where the gift is if we're going to hit the masses, we need to do it through technology. And the people that we talk to my network is reasonably significant. So I'm just talking within my close network and seeing if we can get some real runs on the board and let's get
That's awesome.
changing worlds. I don't know where this journey ends. And I don't think it does.
It doesn't because it doesn't end because there's a massive gap, and it's such a complex topic, isn't it? Emotional intelligence. I mean, the brain, people are complex. You know what I mean? So, there's so many things to unpack.
I want to keep it simple, isn't it? That's why you got to, for sight, I think, We got to keep it simple.
Yeah. What are three things? I mean, obviously you need days to kind of, unpack, watch well and what it does. But like, what are, I guess, three strategies that you bring to the table to, to improve emotional intelligence and, improve the way, worksites communicate, so then there is better mental health.
Like I said, it's very, very important to have clear, easy to understand, simple information, especially if it's instructional. And on building sites, it's very much about safety. So to make sure that that is delivered in the right way is probably the most important part of all of this. It's all communication. It is the biggest challenge we have is communicating with people that don't quite see things the way we do. So I think what I had to build had to talk to as many people as I possibly could. Every time I run through my head, every time I ran with it. So it was, how do we build something that talks different languages, that talks to different levels? The tool had to be malleable enough that as things change, as people's opinions change, it needs to be able to adapt and overcome its own challenges. And it's not necessarily about scaling, it's about adapting, it's about adjusting, it's about the big word that everyone used through COVID was pivot. You got to be able to proactively be ahead of the game. And I think that's what the goal is so people start thinking ahead of time. People start thinking, if I do this, this is going to happen. Is it a good or a bad? Do I put someone at risk or am I helping someone out? Do I make things quicker or slower? Is it going to help me get the next job? Is it going to hinder me get the next job? There's so many parameters on what can happen that this conversation, depending on who it's with, is going to go 1,000 ways. That's what we want to be able to do. We need to have these 1,000 conversations. We need to be able to grab it all in. And that's where I think AI really, really comes into its own, because it can listen to 1 million conversations and aggregate it all and say, this is the general sentiment. Here's your outliers. These are the people that can potentially give the biggest ripples. The ones inside of your core, you're centralized, they're locked in, they know the systems, they know the processes, they've probably been on their multiple projects.
Yeah.
These are your core. Train these, pull these in, or push them out. You have to be able to run a strong site, and that's strong staff, and that's strong supervisors, and that's strong leadership, and that's a strong CEO. If that happens, you've got a strong business that makes money, keeps the best staff, is safe, people want to go. It's a no-brainer. But it's people.
Yeah.
Totally unpredictable. Life's difficult, and even the best person can have a bad day. Yeah. And that's what I really think the crux of this is allowing people to have a bad day and not making them feel bad about it. They're already bad. Why? We need to lift each other up. And I think business is a tough thing to do. And I think any industry, look, I've been in construction 30 years, so I know it well. And I know it's a pretty stressful place, but I could imagine that being in the police force, hospitals, fire, those emergency services, defense, I can only imagine how difficult they must be as well.
Yeah.
My father's in the offshore industry, so I got brought up with a dad there half the time.
Yeah.
Because he was away. So it's hard.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, good culture goes a long way. It comes down to culture, isn't it? Like, because you mentioned that when people come together, they're coming to this site or to their workplace from all different facets, right? I mean, what I'm hearing is the importance of healthy culture. When there's healthy culture, there's camaraderie. There's going to be people that are going to look out for each other. There's no sense of isolation. Like I'm going in there alone. Like you've got each other's back. Like wouldn't you agree? Like
I do watch sport.
Yeah.
Any team sport. My kids I've played team sport. I watch. I'm like the Premier League, full team. If the team doesn't perform, they lose.
Yeah.
It's not very difficult. It's a pretty simple concept that if the culture is good and strong, you got a much better chance of achieving an outcome than if everyone's all pissed off and they don't like each other and they're not turning up. You've got Buckleys. Can things turn around? Of course. Emotional intelligence is one of those skills you learn until the day you go.
Yeah.
It's not the same as IQ. It's a behavioral skill, which means you have the choice to change your behavior.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost like could be positive manipulation, because I started to see manipulation at the beginning as a bad word. It's not. You can manipulate things for positive reasons, and I think emotional intelligence is the way I started to process it it's a form of manipulation.
Yeah.
But if I can do it for the right reasons, then the outcome I would think is a more positive one. Whereas if I manipulate on a bad thing, and I see that in schools, I see that through social media. I feel that manipulation, and I'm on the other side of the world by myself. I came here, so manipulation was not something that I'm easy manipulated, but it's different nowadays. So bringing up a 18-year-old and a 20-year-old, we've gone through all of that, and it is a manipulative world. My word to them is if you manipulate things, do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Understand what this decision is going to do, and who's going to benefit and who's not. And that's where you start getting that enjoyment. That's where the culture starts to change, when people are doing things not to get, but because they can give. And they can do it because they want to do it. And they genuinely get a buzz out of being able to do something for someone else and be able to continue on their day. I don't need anything back, knowing that down the track, when I need it most, then I hopefully someone turns up on when I'm having a bad day, and someone comes in and says, it's all right. You got it.
Yeah.
Karma, isn't it?
100%. And I truly believe, I know a lot of people think there's a lot of fluff about this, but we're all connected energetically, right? So you get what you put out, right? If you're putting out like that notion of support, and that that whole concept of givers gain, like generally go out to support people, and you're not expecting anything in return. Like that's something that it's one of my core values. It's like I'll do something for someone because I want to, not because I'm thinking I'm going to get something. If there is something in return, with gratitude, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, fantastic, I'll accept. But I think what I'm trying to get at here is, and trying to articulate how important it is to circulate that positivity and that emotional intelligence, because I think naturally, especially in this busy and crazy world that we're living in, we're kind of like, it's quite easy to just do things or have that mentality of, I'm alone,
Absolutely.
But it doesn't have to be like that.
No, it doesn't. But you have to be able to live in that alone place. That's where you probably learn the most. It's where you experience the most. And I think looking back in my life, I probably think, or I'm more impacted by the negative things in my life than the positive things. I've just grabbed the positive and I've took them. The things that I really stick in my mind are the negative things that have happened. And without going into what I've been through, it was an emotionally challenging road to go down. And I understand why people go, on a spiral, because sometimes you just don't know what's this all about. You are alone because there's no one else in my head. We're sitting here, we can have a chat. And some of the things that we're talking about, surely they must be so obvious that we should all be able to do it.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, life isn't like that. We have lots of different views and perspectives. And is that a bad thing? I don't think so. I've been around the world. Culture, sharing experiences, seeing how other people live. For me, that's part of the gift. And Australia why I came here is because this country has got some of the greatest people. It's a great country and you travel so well. I fell in love with the way people greet and the way Australians are when they travel. And New Zealanders are the same, but now I have 2 Aussie kids. I'm so happy with what I've got and I'm so happy with here. Now is a time that I can start really chipping back in. And again, it's not to get anything back. It's only really to add a little bit of a culture awareness. But let's not say I'm going to be able to teach you all about everyone's culture. But if you want to learn about that person's culture on site, you're going to know and say, hey, I want to go and do this. What do you recommend? I want to experience your culture. And I would love to see construction sites bringing and sharing and helping everyone to understand culturally where we sit. I know there's political tension in lots of parts of the world, and Australia has all of those people on a building site, essentially. So it's a tinderbox, can be, but it can also be something that it starts to ripple outside. Yeah. I got on. That person who I don't like on the news or for whatever reason, he's all right. Good worker. Then you start to go, just because he was born there and thinks like this, it doesn't impact his work unless you make it. And if you start to make him feel uncomfortable, her, him, it doesn't matter. Everyone suffers. And that's where it comes back round to the middle. As soon as one person's pissed off in that loop, you're wasting time. You know time is gone. Mm. And in construction, time is money. And in time means projects delayed. Yep. Delayed projects mean liquidated damages. Liquidated damages put people out of business. And then no one gets paid. And that, I guess that's the thing. Business is already a risk. Why do I want to take another one? Why wouldn't I make sure that my people and the people around me are aware of what I'm doing, they respect what I'm doing, and they know if there's anything, if I'm causing a problem or impeding them, they're comfortable enough to say, hey, mate, you're in the way. What do you want to do? No problem. I told you at the beginning, if I get in the way, you tell me and I'll step aside. And then it's a mutual, amicable, two-way conversation. And what I found, and I could talk forever, is I see these people on other sites now. So companies that we start to become familiar to each other. We've got the same work ethic, and those construction companies that employ the same people at a high standard, their projects are always at a high standard. Their projects always finish on time. There's always a high five at the end of it, and there's always a see you on the next job. But more often than not, that's not the situation. The communication channels, the fact that you've got cadets, the level of, it's difficult to get staff. And that is proving to be one of the bigger challenges for the industry. And right people, right place is a lottery. And I know that.
So many layers. So to wrap things up, what does Monty, what does good support look like?
I think good support is someone who stands next to you, not in front of you, not on top of you, not behind you. They stand there next to you. And no matter what level you're on, whether you're that direct report looking up, that it is someone who stands next to you and helps guide you. They don't dictate to you. They don't force you. They encourage, they empower, and they train and support. And at the same time, they allow you to make mistakes. But then at the end of that little journey, we discuss what this was. What do we learn? What would we do differently? What could we do better? And then it's the next step. So good support is always there. But it's not an oppressive force. It's something really that is, I don't know how to describe it. It's like my kids. I'm not trying to be the boss. I'm trying to be someone that they want to talk to. Yeah. I'm trying to be someone that they're open that I'm open enough to talk to. And that's exactly the same, I think, to be on a building site, especially in such an industry where people become vulnerable and alone and stressed and nervous and anxious. That's really, really important, that they're with someone that can say, I'm uncomfortable at the moment. And if we can get people to that point, I think we're on a good road to being proactive in our well-being.
Love that. It's so powerful. My final question, what does it mean for you to be brave?
Oh, wow. Accountability, owning your mistakes, try and be nice to people. It's a freaking good question. Well, I think that's, to be brave is to be someone who can face any situation. They're not sure how they're going to get out of it. But to be brave if you're sick, to be brave if you're the boss, to be brave if you just lost your job, if family, there's so many places to be brave. And I don't think we can all be brave in every place. I think we have strengths where we show bravery in our relationships, and there's always going to be someone strong at home. But are they oppressing emotions to be brave? So what is brave? I think it's just someone who's comfortable enough to be themselves. And they identify that if they could be better, they do it. So I think bravery is something you earn. I think you build a braver person as you go older, is just someone who has no fear about, I wouldn't say being wrong, because then we're going to have the smart arses that, I think you need to be prepared to be wrong.
Which comes back to accountability.
It comes back to accountability.
I love that.
So bravery is such a powerful word. And I think it comes in all facets, all forms. And, my mum was 5 foot. She was short and I thought she was a hugely brave woman. No longer here. And I think my father took that mantle on and he showed a brave face to look after the kids, So, but at work, he worked offshore. So I think he's brave to be able to leave home and sit on an oil rig for 2 weeks at a time or a month at a time. So I think my kids are brave going to school and navigating through. I think I see bravery all around. I think what you're doing now is giving people a chance to make them realize we're all brave. You all have the opportunity to be braver, but it just means stepping outside that comfort zone. And I think if someone's there with a hand saying, come on, it's not too bad, I'm way more likely to step out. So support, being around people who are brave, that you trust. Bravery is a very powerful thing. People follow bravery. People trust it. It's exciting. So,
love it.
Don't know if I answered that the right way.
That was perfect. That was very powerful. David, thank you so much.
I don't know if I've made it cloudier or clearer, but
no,
it's not
a lot of great nuggets in there. So thank you so much.
Tom will do his thing, and
yep.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. That was David Montgomery from WatchWell. A powerful reminder that real strength isn't about pushing through in silence. It's about speaking up and looking out for each other. Mental health on site isn't a weakness. It's a responsibility. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is start the conversation that no one else wants to have. If this episode resonated, please share it far and wide. These conversations save lives. Until next time, be brave.